Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on three. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because, wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Take from What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Amy. Today, I'm talking to my friend Mary Catherine Starr. She is an artist, graphic designer, and the author of a new comic memoir about motherhood called Mama Needs a Minute. You know Mary Catherine's hugely popular Instagram account, Mom Life Comics, I am sure, because it has hundreds of thousands of followers. Mary Catherine explores motherhood, marriage, and the double standards of parenting through hilarious and relatable comics. She lives on Cape Cod, Massachusetts with her husband and their 2 kids. Welcome, Mary Catherine.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm a huge fan of you and your podcast, so it's great to be here.
Oh my gosh, me too. I mean, I've been a fan of Mom Life Comics for a long time. So tell us how you started it.
Yeah, well, I started it just as a kind of therapeutic outlet for, as so many moms do in the early days of motherhood, feeling super overwhelmed. And at the time, I didn't start it as Mom Life Comics. I just started making these little comics for my personal Instagram. I had like a blog, I was a lot like a longtime blogger from back in the early days of blogging.
Me too.
But I wasn't like a big, I wasn't like, I didn't make my living off my blog. It was just something fun I did. And so I already had like a very small personal blog Instagram. So I started making these comics just for that. And it was really like a way of just using my creativity to talk about the frustrating, hard parts of motherhood. So I started doing those, and they started to clearly be something that resonated with people, just the small following I had on my personal Instagram. And so after about a year of randomly posting them here and there on my personal, I decided to start Mom Life Comics. And it was really just the idea was like, well, okay, it's getting kind of weird to have pictures of my kids and then right next to it a comic. So I'm going to just make a feed that's all comics and just see what happens. But it really was more, I started it more as just a therapeutic outlet, a way to be creative, do something fun for myself, and also to connect with other moms and kind of say like, this is really hard.
And when did you realize that you were maybe onto something?
I think, well, once I started Mom Life Comics, it was quickly growing. I'd been blogging and on Instagram and social media for a long time, and I, had like a very normal kind of following. And when by normal, I just mean like small, kind of how we all are when we start out.
Yeah.
And then when I started Mom Life Comics, within a couple months, it had grown much more quickly. It was like, up to 10,000 within a couple months, and then to 15,000. And it was like, okay, people are sharing these. And I think I never really made content that was shared far and wide. Like I had my people who I knew. I was a yoga teacher, so a lot of my readers of my blog were yoga students, and they would comment and be into my content, but it never like reached strangers really. And so this was like, it started reaching a lot of strangers. I would see on the back end that a comic would be shared by however many people. And I realized, okay, there's something here that's clicking for people. And so I was hovering around that. I was really excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I have, 10,000, 15,000 followers. This is huge. And then in January 2022, so I started making the comics in 2020, right before the pandemic started. And then in 2021, I started Mom Life Comics. And then 8 months later, one of my comics went viral. And that was one called The Double Standards of Parenting, which I feel like changed my life. You never know when you're a content creator, like what's going to hit. But I created that comic and it went viral. And then within like a couple of weeks, even a couple of days, I think I had like 100,000 followers. It was crazy. I was getting tons of hate, but also lots of wonderful comments. And then it just kind of blew up from there. And, it was very exciting, very wonderful. I'm very grateful. It's obviously how I've been able to do everything I've been able to do since was because of that. But it was a kind of a wild ride going viral. You know, you hear about it, but until you experience it.
But it happens. We definitely shared the double standards of parenting cartoon ourselves on What Fresh Hell Cast, which is our Instagram. I saw it. I'm like, oh, I remember this. I very much shared it just to like lay the table for people who are listening. It shows a female parent and a male parent on two sides doing the exact same thing, being with their kid in a grocery store, dropping their kid off at school. Same thing, just male parent, female parent. And on the male side, it's just, what a super helpful dad, an involved dad, and then on the other side, it's a mom.
The one that like sparked the idea was actually, I forget how my husband and I were talking about it, but it was something about ordering takeout or bringing home fast food. And we realized if I ordered takeout for the kids or brought home fast food, I would feel like I was being like lazy, even though I'm not even the cook. He's our cook in the family, but whatever. I would feel like it was lazy of me as a mom. And that if he did it, it's like fun. Daddy got us all takeout. And so that was the comic that started. We were talking about that and I was like, that's so crazy. And so I had this idea for like a mom and a dad both carrying a bag of fast food into the house. And one, he's labeled fun dad, she's labeled lazy mom. And so that was like what started the idea. And then it was like, it's not hard to think of all the double standards. So very quickly it was like, oh, well, we can just I can draw tons of examples of this. And all you have to do is put a different label above them and it's eye-opening.
It's a light bulb moment, and it was the best kind because even from me, I mean, this is something I think I know and I think I call out when I see it. And yet there were certain ones in there that I thought, right, there is still this conditioning in me that if I see a guy with a baby and a Bjorn and another kid by the hand, I'm so annoyed by the idea that that guy needs a ticker tape parade for walking around the block with his two kids. But still, when I see that dad, I'm like, look at that dad.
Exactly.
And the mom doing the same thing is invisible. It's just...
I mean, it's so ingrained in all of it. That's the thing that for me was so striking is like, I feel this way too. I just did another one recently. And one of the things I put on there was you see a single dad, right? And you're like, oh my God, he's such a hero. Look at that single dad. How does he do it? And no one thinks twice about a single mom. And in fact, she's often discriminated against. There's just so many examples of this. And I think it's so ingrained in us, we don't even notice them. And that's, to me, like, that's kind of the crux of what I care about now the most in all my comics and in my feed is making that kind of invisible conditioning visible. Because I just think that it's everywhere. We all fall prey to it. It's not just like, I think a lot of people see my work and they think I'm bashing dads. And I'm like, I couldn't be further from that. What I'm trying to say is this hurts dads too. This hurts all of us. I hear from so many dads who say like that when they're out in the world, they get so mad that they are treated like they're just heroes for doing the most basic parenting. You know, it's insulting to them.
It's insulting, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point of view. We had Shannon Carpenter on as a guest on our show, and he's a stay-at-home dad that makes content about it. And that is his point of view, too, that everybody presumes complete dum-dum incompetency from everything he does. Yeah, and that gets old for men and women. I hear the same thing from what we do, from the writing that I do, that it's not bashing men to say this unequal distribution of household labor exists. And as you say, it's just as bad for the men. And we buy in just as much without meaning to in some ways. I think we also fall prey to it.
Yeah. And it hurts dads in so many ways. All of these double standards. I mean, I think even in my own family, like because we have fallen into, which is, what my book's about, but we've fallen into this trap of kind of going down, despite being super feminist and being very egalitarian, we fell into the trap early on with kids of standard stereotypical parenting roles, not by choice, but just because of so many factors, societal and cultural. And it hurts my husband that he doesn't get to do some of the things that I do just because I'm the mom and I just took them on, right? And he just let me take them on because it's what's expected or what's natural. He misses out on things. It's not just that dads aren't given the credit or they're getting embarrassed out in public by people praising them for the bare minimum, but it's also that dads are missing out on experiences with their kids or moments or ways they could be more involved that I think because moms are just slotted into these spaces so naturally and moms do it because it's expected of them and dads don't because it's not expected of them, dads are really missing out on a lot of the really wonderful parts of parenting, I think. And I think there's a cultural reason for that.
You do a really good job in the book of talking about how you and your husband, before you had kids, really did have a pretty 21st century marriage and distribution of labor. And I think, speaking for what the book is saying, that you sort of move forward like, and now this will stay the same. And then the first baby comes and things shift. And then you made the excellent point. And then the second baby comes and it shifts even more, right? It just keeps accruing to the parent. And I thought you walked through that in a very, like, I'm part of the problem, skillful way of how this happens a little bit at a time. That if you could go back to when you were the one reading the baby books and your husband was looking at his phone, that you might do things differently. Say a little bit about that.
Well, I think the other thing, you touched on it, is absolutely right, that it happens kind of like under the radar, and it just happens naturally. And I say naturally because it's just like, again, we're slotted into these roles culturally and physically too, because obviously in most cases, moms are the ones having the babies. But I think in our case, and in a lot of people's cases, if they do have multiple kids, it's a quick turnaround. You don't have 7 years in between. A lot of people, some do, of course, but a lot of people are having their kids kind of earlier, closer together. And so you don't even have time to really come up for air and look around and say like, oh, let's get back to where we started. For us, at least, it was just like we were rolling downhill. There was no time to stop and take a big picture view and go, oh, wait, things have gotten really out of whack for us. But what happened is basically, we had our first, we both took leave. My husband did take parental leave, but wasn't as long as mine. And my daughter did not ever take a bottle or a binky. It was just me. And,
Yep.
that sets you up real quickly to be the one who does everything.
Yeah, you call that the default nighttime parent.
Yes.
I've never heard that before, but I know what that is. And that really is how so much of this starts, right? If you're breastfeeding, which you are certainly being instructed by the world around you is the vastly preferred outcome. And at least when my kids were little and it was exclusive breastfeeding, don't give them a bottle ever or everything's going to get messed up. And so, yes, I was the only one who could get up, and the sleep deprivation leads to rage, resentment, actual brain fog, right? And
total anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah. And the last thing you can do is sit down and have a rational conversation about it.
Yeah. Or say, let's talk about the mental load of this. Or, it's like, you're in such, at least I personally was in such crisis mode, just survival mode, that I couldn't possibly step back and say, let's look at how we're dividing things up around the house. It was just like desperation. I need you to do something kind of mentality. And I think my kids are 8 and 5 now, like we're far out of that. But as I look back, I still see there are so many dynamics we set up in the first year of my daughter's life that we are still kind of clawing ourselves out of the hole from those dynamics. They happen so quickly, they become so deep-seated, and it's so hard to pull yourself out, or at least it has been in my experience. And I think that's unfortunately where this happens for so many people, and we don't realize it till it's too late.
Yeah. I mean, seen, felt, heard. I'm talking to Mary Catherine Starr. Her new book is called Mama Needs a Minute, and we'll be right back. Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com.
All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE. So I wanted to ask you a question, Mary Catherine, about your art. Your comics feature parents, people. None of the people in your comics have faces. It is 100% clear what's going on. I mean, you're a very skilled artist because I know I can read this mom and how she's feeling right now, but they don't have faces. And why is that? Is that something you fell into, or was it deliberate choice?
Well, it was deliberate at the beginning, but then it just kind of became what I did. But I actually, many, many years ago, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, but I was doing yoga teaching and art, and I was doing a lot of custom art and graphic design. And I started doing these, actually, when my husband and I got married for our wedding program, I drew a little outline of both of our heads and our hairlines. And it was like the little logo I made for our wedding. And it was just like I didn't want it to be a full portrait. I just wanted it to have like a hint. It was like a very simple line drawing. So I did that for our wedding, and then I posted it to my blog back in the day, and then a bunch of people asked me if I could do it for them. And so I started doing these, like I sold them on Etsy for a while. I called them couple sketches, but they were just outlines of people's head and hair, no facial expression. And it was, a lot of people used it. People use them for like temporary tattoos for their weddings, or people put them on their napkins. They were like little logos for weddings. And so I got really used to just drawing people's hair and face shapes. And I thought, I actually really just loved how, like, if you just drew someone's hairline and face shape, you could tell who they were. And it was so cool.
If it's you couldn't. If I did it, you wouldn't know who they were.
But I loved that. It's so simple, such a simple way to like just suggest at a person. And so when I started doing the comics, it was just kind of like how I was already drawing people. And I've been doing it for many years. So I was like, I'll just do that again. Plus, drawing faces takes forever. I was learning how to draw on like, a tablet for my computer. And so it just felt like, I'll just keep doing that. And then it just became what I did. My comics became very recognizable because not many people are drawing comics without faces. And then I also, as I went along and my work became less about personal anecdotes, obviously the book is all personal, but a lot of my comics now are much more like universal or standard mom and dad. They're not me and my husband necessarily. And so it was nice because people could kind of see themselves in it. Without a face, the people are a little more universal. So I stuck with it for that reason as well.
That's what I was thinking, that it does sort of a hint towards a universality. You can see yourself in these extremely universal situations.
Yeah. Yes, I think it's like a happy accident, and now I'm like, well, I mean, drawing faces does take forever. And now I've like gotten in this rhythm. So I probably won't ever start drawing faces anytime soon.
Do you hear from people who something is really unlocked by one of your comics or one of the things that you've written?
I do. And I think it's because they're comics. I think there is something that's, and that this wasn't intentional on my end. I did not know this when I started out, but I think through humor and through very simple visual humor, not all my comics are funny, but some of them are. And a lot of them are more playful or poking fun at marriage or relationships, but in a less aggressive way. I think it's a really good entry point for people. I think, at least from what I hear, a lot of women share them with their husbands and they feel, or their partners and their male partners specifically, and they feel like it's a less aggressive thing than sending them a reel by a psychologist saying what's wrong with their relationship. But if they send them a comic that's kind of funny and go, ha, 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 this is you, it's an entry point to have a conversation about it, or something that might help their partner become aware of an issue without it necessarily being a really intense or more aggressive way of communicating it. So I think that's what's made them maybe be a little more shareable and a little more accessible for people. And I also think that we all need to kind of laugh at how hard, how hard all of this is, how hard relationships and marriage and parenting is. And I think just like how your podcast has that same energy, there is something about just needing to be able to commiserate. And I think that comics do that in a way that sometimes other mediums don't, because they're a little quicker and more visual.
It makes so much sense to me that it's like, this isn't personal, it's universal. Oh my gosh, this is just like us, right? Like that's you, that's me. And yet there is a chance to walk beyond that. Like, isn't it so funny how husbands don't know where anything is ever in the house? Like, well, it's kind of funny. And then also
Kind of sucks.
there's something you can do about it. And what I really like about your book is that it isn't just here are all the stupid, dumb things a mom has to put up with every day. It's actually exploring, like, and then what happens if you try to do something about that? What happens if you try to reset it? So tell us a little bit about your own, like, I can't do things this way anymore. Was it something that happened all at once? Was it little resets along the way? How did it go for you?
I mean, I think I got to that point, which I think a lot of moms and moms of young children get to, which is just more like, I was miserable, really overwhelmed, really anxious, really exhausted all the time. And I think it was a combination of a lot of things. It kind of happened in the pandemic, which happened, I think, for so many parents, mothers in particular. But I had 2 young kids. It was the pandemic. I was trying to run my business from home. I mean, all the classic things ever. We all know what happened during the pandemic. That's what happened. I was already, my daughter was 3.5 and she hadn't started sleeping till 15 months. And even then she still wasn't sleeping great. And then now I have another new baby. And then and it was just like, I got to the point where I think I just was totally miserable. And, I went back to therapy and I got on medication and, I did the things to take care of myself, but I was still just in my home. Like, it doesn't matter how much work I'm doing on myself, because in our home, I am doing too much and I am drowning. And I think so many moms get to that point. And I think that you have a choice there. And sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes you have to just keep pushing through exactly as is and status quo and hope that there'll be a light at the end of the tunnel. But I think I was able to, through these comics, through the community online of other mothers, learning about the mental load more and researching more about it. And I credit like other mothers who've come before me and mothers who are in the same position for kind of helping me learn about that this doesn't have to be the way it is, and I knew that, but I think sometimes when you're deep in it, just knowing other people are dealing with this too gives you that extra sense of, okay, well, if other people are dealing with this too, I'm not alone, but also like, I don't want this to be my life. So what do I need to do? And I'm still working on it. It's been years and years since the pandemic and that happened, but we're still, my husband and I together are still really trying to balance things and transfer the mental load and even it out. And I think it'll always be a work in progress for us, but we have made some huge shifts. And I do feel like I'm still tired all the time and overwhelmed, but I feel like I've been that way my whole life. So that's not really surprising. It's just now there's extra motherhood layer.
You bring to it a nice perspective of, I'm grateful for the life I have and I'm overwhelmed. I love my partner who does a lot, and yet sometimes I want to kill him. Like both things can be true. It isn't like, let's burn this whole thing down. That's not your point of view, which isn't, I think maybe would be less accessible for a lot of people, but also it doesn't have to be true, right? You don't have to reach a breaking point in order to make some small changes that will really make a difference. But first you have to notice this conditioning, and then you have to sort of walk everybody around you toward it.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have a dark night of the soul where I just had like some moment. It was more just a couple of months of losing my mind to the point where like I couldn't function anymore. And it wasn't like I sat down one day and said, things have to change. But there were a series of conversations over a couple of months of me saying to my husband, I can't do this anymore. I'm not happy. This is not working. Like, we have to make changes. And then we started couples therapy. We did lots of different things. And so I think my book is definitely not so the 5 steps for how you can save your marriage after kids. I'm sure those books are really helpful, but that's not what it is. It's much more of a I really want people to see the path into and hopefully starting back out of what can happen when things get really out of whack in terms of household equality. My brother and his wife, they're pregnant with their first right now. And I said, I want you both to read my book.
Yes.
Because I want Peter to see too what happened and ways that he can right now start to be involved more so that Sharon isn't doing all of it. I want it to be a roadmap to people who haven't had kids yet, but then also, of course, for people who have and are trying to kind of see their story and see that this is normal, quote unquote normal. It's not, I wish it wasn't normal, but it is, I think, pretty normal that people find themselves in the situation.
Here's the part that I saw myself in. So my kids are a lot older, right? But I still see a lot of myself in this book, and it's certainly a lot of my history. And this is one that I loved, the maternal worry cycle. I feel like I tried to write about this in like thousands of words, and you did it in one frame. I'm going to read the maternal worry cycle and just imagine it with like perfect cartoons next to it. Mom starts worrying about something. Dad tells her not to worry because everything always works out. Mom explains the only reason things work out is because she handles them. No one else handles the issue, so mom handles it so she can stop worrying. Mom is able to stop worrying. Dad sees that he was right. Everything always works itself out. And there was never any reason to worry. I'm like, yep.
And that came from, my husband has said to me multiple times, I don't know why you stress about this stuff. I find that it always works itself out. He's truly said that. And I, of course, lost my mind and said, but it's like, and so many people have written to me. And it's one of the great things about having this account is that I quickly have my experience validated by thousands of people saying, oh, me too. And then I realized, okay, this is universal. This isn't just me. And then it feels like it's a truth that I can really run with. Because I think that's the problem is if you're not talking about this stuff publicly, you really do think it's a problem with my marriage or me or my household.
Or you. I do think so. I think that it took me a long time to figure this out. Like, oh, you get to say, I'm just going to decide everything will be fine because I'm doing all the worrying and the work of making everything okay. There's an exchange there. It isn't, I worry too much. And to see it spelled out here is like, that's exactly it. So I think sometimes people do recognize it. And then there's other people who will be told by their spouse that they worry too much. And they would be like, oh, okay, I worry too much. I guess I better work on not worrying so much instead of saying, whoa. Who's going to get the IEP? Who's going to call the doctor? Who's going to do the work that's involved with everything, quote unquote, working out fine? And it doesn't make the other person a bad person. They don't get it. They really do think it all skips to just sit back and relax and it all works out.
Yeah. And my house,
because that's what they've done before.
Absolutely. And that's exactly, in my house, we've gotten to this point where like, we are always just calling out the mental load of everything. It's ridiculous. But, I'll say like, oh, well, I had this meeting at the school today. I just want to remind you. And da happened. And there was a big mental load associated with this. My husband will say like, okay, thank you. And then the mental load of being the one who takes the stuff to the dump every week. And, we're constantly talking to each other about the mental load. But I think obviously we're kind of joking, but we're also really trying to make them visible. And it's helpful for me when he says it too, because there are things he handles that I don't see and vice versa. And so obviously I think we're still, this is still a hot topic for us and has been and probably will be for a while. But I do think it is helpful to start kind of calling out some of the worrying or you can call it whatever you want. I like calling it mental load because I think that's a great description. But some of the thinking that goes into parenting that isn't seen. I love talking about it and making it clear to your partner that you're doing it because I think it helps everyone see that we're all carrying a lot in our brains. We're all carrying this load and it's different for each person in the partnership. And I think over time you want to get it more equal, but even just calling it out, I think is a helpful place to start. So the other person can start to see what you're doing.
Yeah. And it doesn't always feel easy. And I think, like you were saying, doing it with like, look at this comic, this is really funny, don't you think, is one way to do it. And in your own personal life, you have a story about peanut butter. Tell us about the peanut butter, because then it occurs to me like then that becomes shorthand, funny between you. You know what it means, and it helps you make change.
Yeah. So I have a whole chapter about this because I call it like the worst fight we've ever had, and it's happened when I was in college. Even my college friends like remember it. It was like a huge thing. But my husband and I, we've been together since I was a sophomore in college, so we do have a lot of history. And I was studying abroad in France, and he came to visit me. And he was coming at my fall break. And so we'd had a couple, I'd been there for a little while. And a lot of my friends' families or partners were sending them care packages. And one of the things that was in high demand over there was peanut butter. I don't know what it's like in France now, but when I was studying abroad there at our grocery store, there was a tiny American section with like the smallest container of peanut butter. And it was so gross. It was like some weird French version. Yeah, they were trying to make American peanut butter. It was not Jif, which is what we all ate back then. And so it was just it was like 10 euros and it was disgusting. So we would all ask our families, please send me some peanut butter as much as you can. And I asked Ben, my husband, multiple times to send me some. And he's not the kind of guy who's going to be putting together care packages. I wish he was, but he wasn't. And so I asked him, he never sent it. So when he was about to come visit, I asked, please bring me some peanut butter. He said, okay. Every time we talked, I would remind him, don't forget to get peanut butter. And then the night before he was supposed to fly to come visit me, we were talking and I said, I just want to make sure, did you get the peanut butter? He said, oh, no, I haven't gotten it yet. I'll try to get it tomorrow. And I was like, Ben, all I'm asking for is peanut butter. That's all I want from you. Get me the biggest jar of Jif you can get, the super one at the store, and please just bring it. Like all I want. He's like, okay. And I'm thinking, if this were me, I would bring him a whole suitcase of Jif peanut butter. This is such an easy way you can show that you care. And so he comes to visit. I don't talk to him today. He flies out. He comes to visit. I meet him in Paris. We go to our little hotel. We're so excited to be reunited. And then I ask him if he brought the peanut butter. After
hi. Where's the peanut butter?
After an appropriate amount of time, I said, "Oh, did you get the peanut butter?" And he pulls out a tiny container, the smallest container you can get of Jif. And he's like, "Yeah, right here." And I said, "Oh, they didn't have anything bigger?" And he said, "Oh, I don't know. My Grammy, his grandmother, my Grammy got it at the store this morning." And I was like, "Okay, wait. He was living with her at the time, but I was like, you sent your grandmother to get the peanut butter. You brought me a tiny one. It's one, it was obviously, I was so upset. And I tried to hold it together, but I was very upset. And I felt just like this was such an example of him just not caring or not thinking of me. Why can't he just show me that he cares with this kind of thing? And then at some point, I think a day or two later, I was showering and I got out of the shower and I came into our little hotel room and he was eating my peanut butter with his finger on the bed.
Your tiny jar of precious peanut butter.
My one thing that I was saving for when I got back to my place. And so anyways, it was a huge fight. We ended up breaking up, his college. So we broke up in front of St. Peter's in the rain. And I have a whole chapter about this, but it's become the shorthand. It's not about the peanut butter, right? Because I broke up with him after a big fight because it was like, I don't care. It's not about the peanut butter. It's about the fact that I want to see that you're thinking of me, that you care, that you're putting other people's needs in front of your own. That felt like a really important thing to me. And I felt like he didn't. And he didn't get it, right? He didn't understand why I was so upset about the peanut butter. It's just peanut butter. That's what he kept saying. It's just peanut butter. Who cares? It's not about the peanut butter. It's about you thinking of me. And so even now, when we have these fights about stupid things like the dishes, it's not about the dishes. It's not about the peanut butter. It's become a shorthand that this is symbolic of a bigger issue. And I think with the peanut butter example, that's partly just been like he's very tunnel vision. He does have a hard time kind of thinking he's never been a great gift giver. He's not leaky about people in that way. But I also think that there's a part of that's being raised a man in this world, and that women are taught to be the caretakers and we're the kin keepers. We give everyone gifts. We're always doing that. And I just don't think that men are taught to do that or need to do that. And frankly, they still can achieve whatever they want without being thoughtful. So I think there's a part of that to me that is important too. It's like this is part of being raised a woman in the world versus being a man.
Okay, I'm talking to Mary Catherine Starr. Her new book is called Mama Needs a Minute, and we'll be right back.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
Mary Catherine, before the break, you were singing my song about this idea that women are conditioned to be people pleasers, that loaded term that we've been talking about on the podcast recently, but that putting other people's wants and needs before your own.
Yes, what you wrote your whole book about, basically.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the assignment, right? It's the assignment once you become a parent, and it's the assignment before you become a parent if you're raised a girl in American society most of the time, I would argue. It was certainly true for me. And when you're raised in it, you don't even think about it. And so when you're not raised in it, you also don't think that you're not raised with those expectations. And we're so hurt, right? In the story about the peanut butter, because it is about, we're going to talk about the peanut butter the whole time, because it is about the peanut butter. But what's funny about it is that you can picture the guy's reaction being like, you're breaking up with me over peanut butter? And you're like, it's not the peanut butter. But he's like, but all I did was not bring you peanut butter. They don't get what they don't get. People who have never had to do this work before, whether it's our partners, our kids, the people who are used to being the taken care ofs, don't understand how hurtful it is to get a really half-assed Mother's Day card, right? Or no card, or have your birthday forgotten, or have something that clearly came from the airport gift shop because they remembered it, the 11th hour was your anniversary, or whatever, all of that. That it's like, but I did it, but I made this little gesture, and it feels wounding. It feels like it's almost worse than nothing at all. And I think that's really hard for people to understand who are outside it. And it doesn't mean that your feelings aren't valid. It's just part of this work is helping them understand, right? Without just feeling like, whoa, okay, crazy lady. Like, you don't want it to get to that and shut down. You have to explain it to them in a way that they understand.
Yeah. Which makes me mad too, right? Then it's more work for women. I have to teach you how to be empathetic. I have to teach you how to think about others. That feels so frustrating. But at the same time, if it's someone you love and you made a commitment and you want to be with them, you have a choice, right? Like, am I going to break this down? Are we going to keep talking about this for years and years until you get it? Or are we just going to leave it as I'm the crazy peanut butter person? And, what's the problem here? We don't understand it. Yeah. I think for so many people, it does stop at it's not about the peanut butter. Like, you're so mad about the peanut butter. And then it ends. And then there's resentment and it builds and this continues. And I know this because I get so many messages every holiday from all the moms who have been forgotten. And it's like just never.
The I got a robe, like the SNL sketch.
The best sketch of all time. The best.
Because it's true, right? Funny because it's true, right? Just like the best humor. Oh my gosh.
Every time I watch it, I just laugh till I cry and mostly end up crying because it's so good and so true. But yes, and I hate it that so many women have to teach their partners to give them gifts. But unfortunately, we are. And I hope that we teach our children how to give gifts and our sons. And then maybe we won't repeat this for the next generation. But here we are. We're doing it. And I think we can make a choice to do it or not and ask for what we need or not.
What do you think the reader of Mama Needs a Minute is going to receive from this book, besides obviously all the things we just talked about, which are all in the book, covered in detail? What would you hope she takes away from it?
At the end of the day, I really want people just to feel less alone in the struggles of motherhood. And I just feel like for me, that has been the game changer. I think, and you talk about that with your book too, but I thought I was the only one. I really did. I thought there was something wrong with me. I still think that, even though I know there's not. Like, there's a part of me, that will always just be like, well, it's probably just me. I just can't handle this. Even though I intellectually know that's not true, I think that so many of us feel like it's me. I'm the reason that this is so hard. And so I really want moms to be able to get from this that it's not you. This is a cultural, societal, big picture, structural thing that's happening to women all over the world. And I say world because I know that, because I get messages from people from all over the world saying this is the exact same thing that happens here, and name whatever country. I mean, when my first comic went viral, I was keeping track and I got messages from women in over 40 countries saying this is exactly the same as it is here. And so I feel like this is so universal, and yet we each feel like we're fighting it an individual battle. That's where I just want moms to read it and be like, oh, and you might not have all the exact same dynamics I have in my relationship, in my household, but there'll hopefully be enough universal dynamics that you'll read enough of parts of my story that say that's the exact same thing that happened to me. Oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one. I mean, at the end of the day, my goal is just connection with other moms, because I think it's the most important thing we can do right now in our culture that's so disconnected.
Yeah, I feel it. You will love this book, everyone listening. It's like if What Fresh Hell podcast was a cartoon, right? I feel like it's very similar sensibilities coming at it from two different things, that it's like, it's funny, and then sometimes it's not so funny, and we have to put up with it, and maybe we don't have to put up with it. Like, finding the balance where we can start to approach hard things with a little bit of honesty and humor and start to make change.
Yeah. I think just the way that What Fresh Hell, it's universal. It's also very personal. It's moving in and out from big picture, little picture. And I think it's both equally important, but it's all part of the same, conversation. So yeah.
Mary Catherine Starr's new book, It's a comic memoir called Mama Needs a Minute. The link is in the show notes to buy this book. It's out now. You will love this book. It is the perfect gift for yourself. And Mary Catherine, tell everyone listening where else they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, momlife_comics. My website is marycatherinestarr.com. I'm also on Substack. There's a link to that from my website. But yeah, Instagram's the best place to find me. I'm there more than I'd like.
We'll put all of those links in the show notes as well. Mary Catherine, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you for having me, Amy.